board effectiveness review cycle. That you, Alistair?
It is, Chair, so I won't regurgitate paper. Simply to say members are asked to approve the adoption of Cabinet Office guidance for board effectiveness for our collective body. If they're so minded, then they're asked to comment on the potential blend of the focus over the next 3 years, which areas of the board's activities they wish to have reviewed each year. So with that, Chair, that's it.
Thank you. Anybody, any points or questions in relation to the paper? Yes, Kenneth.
I suppose noting the small size of the executive team, who would do a lot of the groundwork for us in collecting data, I thought this seemed quite unambitious, I suppose, quite slow.
Welcome to the Cabinet Office, Kenneth.
Well, the Cabinet Office is saying you can do up to 15 things. We've chosen, the proposal is that we look at them over a 3-year period. So I guess it's just an open question for others to comment, and are we doing enough here?
I think my response to that would be this. I think you're right that we do want to push the boundaries, as it were, in terms of board effectiveness, otherwise we will not get better. And I would urge all colleagues, if you've got any ideas or suggestions, get them to Alistair as soon as possible, please. And we'll have a look at them. Every suggestion will be carefully considered, I can assure you of that. Anybody else? Okay, are we content to approve the adoption of the Cabinet Office Arm's Length Body Board Effectiveness Review Principles? I'm not sure there's much of a choice in that, Alistair. I think we'll probably accept them. And the 3-year review cycle and the Board Effectiveness Action Plan, with the caveat about providing Alistair with any ideas or points that you may wish to raise. Are we content? Thanks, Alistair. Member induction, Susan.
Thank you, Chair. So the appointment of Ian in November made the authority call again with enough members. We are now waiting for 4 new members and a permanent deputy chair to go through vetting. We hope they will join us sometime in early January is our plan. And then through discussion with the chair, we've put together kind of the outlines of what could be a 2-day induction programme for new members to participate in. We'd like to extend that to all members as a refresher if they would like to join that. We expect that will take place sometime towards late January, early February, again dependent on when vetting is concluded. We welcome the support from both the authority, the force and the executive in terms of making that a success. We also plan to deliver some training around pensions, health and safety, risk management and whistleblowing, and that will be to all members too. And there's a sort of a discussion at the moment as to whether that forms part of the 2-day induction or whether that takes place sort of at separate events later on during next year.
Thanks, Susan. Conscious that this will be the diary troll from hell in terms of getting enough people around, does anyone have any comments or points they would wish to make in response to Susan's paper and comments?
I think it's very welcome. We were the last intake, Nick and Mia, myself and Stuart, and I think we would all say it's quite hard to get up to speed without. And there was nothing really, there was a bit of handbook, made a reading source, and made a bit of sense, and some of the put essays didn't understand the balls. So I think the fact of taking time to induct people properly, I think a lot of people get up to speed properly.
Should have added as well that the member handbook that you referred to, we've fully refreshed, and Ian has been the first recipient sort of that as an aid member, particularly when they're new to the authority.
Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, I was just a little surprised that my 3 ACCs are lumped together with a 45-minute slot, and then Rachel has a 45-minute slot and Steph. So I'd like it to be consistent with all of my club members.
Sure.
Joy.
You're not expecting.
Longer we work together.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I just put a plea on the expenses portal? Because I'm spectacularly awful at doing it. I don't do many expenses, and there's a reason for it. I don't need to, and also I'm a bit of a tech kid, really. But it isn't on here. But it takes up a huge amount of time, and I just wonder if we could have a very brief seminar, maybe 20 minutes for IT, because for some of the new people, I noticed they're quite young. They're probably just being on IT, but it's quite difficult and it's quite cumbersome. So if you could just incorporate that, that'd be good.
Sure, sure. As long as it's not for a duck house, Stuart. Yeah.
I think it's implicit, but I think we should be explicit, covering EDI and legitimacy. Because I think if you look back, this is the only record we've got of what we all went through. Some of the things we said, look, it starts from the moment, join the organisation. I think it's implicit, but just make it explicit.
Yeah. Agreed.
Point from Willie, Chair.
Ron? Yeah, I was listening to your comments saying about when the new members are due to join. And one of the consequences of not being down today was I was rescheduling my flight to the board development day at the end of January. But I don't see the point in having a board development day at the end of January if the new members aren't going to be with us. So I guess you need to make a call on that once you have better understanding of when the appointments are going to be.
Yeah, the only thing holding it up just now is the progress of vetting, but it's a good point, but it's points having a board development day and then induction. Yeah, so we'll look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dick.
Ron, you said diaries will be a nightmare, so inevitably some of the existing ones are going to miss some of the slots. I just wonder whether we could look at recording them, making some of the induction available.
You want to look at that?
Appreciate it might stifle debate, but
No, let's do it.
I've said several times, the early morning briefings we get are one thing that we could record, because I've been very conscious this year, we've had some very good ones, but we're not going to rerun them in time for new members in their first sort of 6 or 9 months. And it's a really quick way of getting up to speed on 1 or 2 topics, and you can share the presentation on the BI anyway. It's just a shame we haven't done that, because we could have a library of briefings, even if they only had a 2-year life.
Yeah, fine, we can look at that. Anything else? All right, I think talking of the diary troll from the other place, I really think you're factoring in on that now. I'll assume vettings will come through at the same sort of time, Susan. So if you could, that would be very helpful. I don't think it'll be an easy task. I think Raquel, of course, will be tearing her hair out at the end.
I know she's looking out to the new members, potential new members today around availability. And we'll follow up again with PSD in terms of kind of progressing the vetting and speeding up.
Great, and thanks to everybody who had an input. That was good. Chief Constable's reports, Lucy.
Okay, I'm conscious of time, so I think I think we've pretty much covered up all of it right the way through and to bullet point 7. But I would want to start with my opening statement. Was sadly we have had the death of Ron Brown, and it was my thanks to Steph who went and visited his family that are based here in the UK. So a lot of people knew Ron, reflected on his life and his commitment to PTP. Just if I pull out some of the key points of the other aspects. So I suppose the first one I want to mention is around the central line on the CCTV. So obviously it was a lot that caused us some problems, particularly in relation to sexual offending. So we're pleased to see that, I mean, we've done a lot of lobbying, some people, but certainly pleased to see that we've got the start of some CCTV on the central line. So that was very welcomed by the force, and certainly the crime team have been lobbying hard under Charlie's leadership in order to work with TfL on that. Some members came, but the Us at Our Best Awards. So this is our annual ceremony that celebrates people within the force and departments and teams, and demonstrates where they're delivering outstanding service. So we had that at City Hall this year. You remember last year it was at the Railway Museum in York. And I think positively, the York People Survey has for some time said that we're not rewarding and recognising people. But we had 340 nominations, which covered over 700 colleagues in the force, and it, all aspects of the force, from leadership just really hard, outstanding hard work, exceptional bravery. And I think those of you who joined me on the day, I was really humbled by the awards that went out to people. Inclusion and diversity, you heard a bit today so far in relation to the Police Race Action Plan. But the Inclusion and Diversity Board has now been refreshed in order to help us meet the IND strategy. And really pleased that the authority with Hugh's been working with me. It's not where we want it to be at the moment, but certainly Rachel and the team are pushing that forward to try and take it to the next iteration of what that will look like. But I would caveat that saying, although we can have a bit of disappointment where we are as a force, we're actually, I think Rachel touched on it earlier, we're really performing well when we benchmark ourselves against other forces. And, we are, once you take out the top tier forces in terms of size, we are pretty much in the second tier in terms of our size as a force. And of course, geographically challenged. And how do we have the confidence that EDI is being developed on the top of Scotland all the way down to Truro? And that's what's important to us. We made a decision to run promotion processes, and again, it's thanks to Rachel and her team. We ran Chief Inspector, Superintendent and Inspector process simultaneously, and that was a lot of work for Rachel and her team, and a lot of work from senior leaders within the force who were sitting on the interview panels. We made that decision because we had some pauses in promotion, and we feel that we need to settle the force down to have substantive leaders in key roles across the organisation. And in order to do that effectively, it was almost complex as to which leader you call first, so therefore we ran 3 processes together. So Alistair has chaired the posting panel for the successful superintendents candidates, and some of our superintendents have also moved in that process. And we've now got the next posting process that's going to be coming out in relation to our chief inspectors, which Alistair will share that. We had 37 candidates for the chief inspectors board, and we had 76 candidates for the inspectors board. So we had healthy interest in it. And I think there's definitely some learning from the processes. There's bits in some processes that have worked well that we want to transfer into the other. I think the biggest challenge that I saw was that interviewing every candidate is just simply not possible going forward. We need to have a cull through an assessment process, but we certainly will not be interviewing everyone going forward because it's sort of a bit of paralysis in terms of the force. So Rachel, you've put out some feedback from all of the assessors, candidates, everybody who participated in the process, and then that will come to us later on in the new year. The estates update is pretty self-explanatory, and I think you've had a lot of input on that recently through various different meetings, and obviously just having signed up the investment. And of course, from my perspective, you just need to settle the PSD and fallback control room, which hasn't yet been approved. And I think the sooner we can move that forward with an agreed position with the authority, that would be helpful to us and to staff specifically in terms of managing the programme. You will remember that we said that 2 of Caroline's deputies were both selected for jobs outside of the force. So she's had a process to put in place her deputies. So we had about 90 chief technology officer, but it's a very competitive process, and we have appointed James Morley, who is actually within the force, but outperformed everybody throughout the process. So that was good. And Jack Bourne, who some of you will know from presentations that I have, he will be stepping into the head of IT portfolio delivery, and so he'll be covering that in the short term. And that's probably it, actually. I mean, if there's anything else you'd like to ask me about with the paper, I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody any questions or points for the Chief Constable?
I'd just like to say the sales best is really, really good. Pardon me. I was sat with a number of your colleagues. It was really nice to see just how people didn't know how to be nominated, and actually just watching them understand how they've been nominated a really positive thing to observe, so but we're really well done.
Anybody else have anything?
On the estates, this building the foundations is fixing the fundamentals. Yes? Well, I had a conversation, Steph had come into this taking over estate cold and really was quite, speaking for you, quite shocked. When we had a quick discussion on it, what was really needed, what IT had fixing the fundamentals, which we were all blown away, and the same is really needed in the estates. Because the estates issues for us wasn't just funding or a lick of paint or new chairs, it was much more fundamental. And so I take my hat to you. If that is as effective as what we've done for IT, then fantastic. Glad you're doing it.
I mean, I think, you know, the state of your estate is intrinsically linked to the culture and performance delivery in your organisation. Now, I mean, they're just not mutually exclusive, but, you know, we've all reflected just before lunch on the challenges with the budget. But I mean, I've certainly seen it firsthand, you know, having been and visited Norwich and finding it just an absolute place. And then going back, you know, 6 months later and seeing just an absolute transformation and the actual, you know, the attitudinal cultural change in a team was phenomenal because they just feel cared for.
But I think making the right decisions, it's about the admin around it, at least in terms of all the other things that are going on, putting all that together would be a big help.
And we're really conscious that, you know, as we move to the new operating model, then one part of that is looking at our estate, where we need to be and how big the estate needs to be.
I can speak from experience, your firearms officers are certainly happier bunnies than they used to be. They don't have to wait to go and get their weapons, as they used to do. Although Stratford needs a bit of work, which I know you're well aware of, but it's problematic. It's a nasty landlord, really, more than anything else. Good. Content to know the report, colleagues? Great. Thank you. Thanks, Lucy. Chief Exec?
Normally I put out 2 or 3 things for you from my report because I can. But this time when I looked at my report and I thought the conversations we've had, I think we've pretty much covered everything and or it's self-explanatory. So I was going to leave it there, Chair, and just see whether anybody has any observations.
You can stay here. Okay. Anybody got any points or questions? As you said, most of this stuff has been covered during the course of the day. Okay, thank you. We'll note that report. We now come to the fun round. It's our equivalent of Mornington Crisp, I think. The committee minutes, and what I'll do is go around each of the committee chairs and see if there are any key points that need to be drawn to our attention. But I will assume that colleagues have all read all of the minutes and are up to speed. Kate, you're covering the SIAG.
Yes, thank you. Nothing to highlight from the minutes, just to flag that we are now responsible for the Strategic Independent Advisory Group. Still working very closely with Karen and Rob, who run the other external scrutiny panels, but we're more closely involved now and looking forward to tackling some of the big challenges around how we get the right people, right, you know, more people involved and the right issues on the table coming from them, not coming from us. So those are our challenges going forward.
I have asked, just so the colleagues are aware, I have asked that we do spend some time on the board away day early next year, discussing exactly what it is we want to achieve with the Strategic Independent Advisory Group, so that we are quite clear as to what we are receiving from them, quite clear as to what we would like them to look at to help us understand the force and operations. And also the force as well, be involved in that discussion. Performance and delivery, Craig?
No, nothing. We've given performance a good outing this today. I don't think there's anything additional to cover that.
Okay, thank you. Stratton planning?
Virtually every paper we've taken has come here. The one thing I would do is just echo your comments earlier. The paper we had on the OTFP, whilst there's still so much to do and we've got so many issues still to resolve, was probably the best that we've ever seen there, the best that I've ever seen in 5 years on, you know, finance and things going forward. So, you know, Steph and the team, I think, have done a great job. They really did have the meeting and it didn't fall out this year. So it's a big step forward.
So that'll touch on to your team, Steph. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Bev, people and culture?
Yep, so we've got a joint risk deep dive on legitimacy to take place in the new year, and the People and Culture Committee particularly wanted Karen and Rob to be able to attend. We were briefed on the force's ambitions for PCSOs, given the challenge to recruit to establishment. Committee encouraged boards to continue to explore ways to enhance recognition of PCSOs. And we undertook a thematic on recruitment and retention, reviewing shift patterns and use of temporary promotions. I'm very pleased to say that the part-time officer recruitment, that was
Senior moment, though.
pardon?
Senior moment.
It was a senior moment. Yeah, I couldn't remember the word recruitment. We're briefed on key issues from your people survey, including concession travel. That's still, as we would expect, a big issue for our officers. The force culture and some of the negative elements that had kind of permeated through that the forces leadership are going to tackle. And the effort to enhance force leadership, including refresh promotion processes, which we've talked about. We also briefed on themes arising from the exit surveys and the force's response to the cost of living crisis. I suppose for me, it was useful to note that whilst we're taking the exit themes very seriously, we are still under the 10% turnover, which is viewed generally as healthy in industry. So that was me. Thank you, Mum.
Thanks, Beth. Any points or questions for Beth? Kenna, solid risk?
Well, just to note that we have a new NEO director with a very sticky end of the year process last year, not in terms of getting our annual report and accounts out, not due to any performance here in BTP or BTPA, but with our colleagues in NEO and KPMG. So we received assurances in the meeting and changes of process that they've made to work better with us. Hopefully have a smoother this year. Other than that, everything is in the minutes, I think.
Any questions for Kenna?
Rob, sorry.
Yes.
Can I just add, we approved the new BTP whistleblowing policy at ARA, and I'm going to send an email around members with the cover note. Please read it. It's very important that you understand it too.
Good point. Thank you.
And also, Chair, just to note, the audit committee did approve the continuation of the cash reserves policy, which on the full authority to approve.
Yes, sorry, I didn't mention that because Sarah covered it earlier, but yes, I think it's the full authority needs to
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Scottish Railways Policing Committee. As you know, that was the minutes to which this meeting refers was my last meeting as temporary chair of that committee. Ian has now taken up the burden of the Scottish Railways Policing Committee, and he'll be reporting. There was nothing particularly contentious that I can recall from the last minutes. Does anybody have any questions or points they would wish to raise? Over to you then, Ian. I don't know, do you want to add anything now? Is there anything you want to say? Silence. Okay. Good. Appointment, Remuneration and Appraisal Committee. You've seen the minutes on BI, colleagues. I don't propose to discuss any of the contents of those minutes in this open meeting. If any of my authority colleagues have any points or questions in relation to those minutes, please contact me directly. I'll take those matters up. Workplan 23-24.
That's Alistair.
Alistair.
Just for noting, Chair, but obviously open to any member comment in light of discussions held today on what we should be looking at future meeting.
You've all seen the paper, colleagues. Does anyone have any questions or points they want to put to Alistair?
I just wondered on this, Alistair, whether it was worth putting the purpose, given we're talking about a full authority meeting, what the purpose and what the outcome is, just very briefly under the heading. So, you know, is it for authorization or approval? Just for this committee as opposed to many others, I think it would be really useful.
Yep. Fine, we content to look down on that basis. Thank you very much. Any other business in public session? Do any of my colleagues have any other business points they wish to raise? None have been communicated. Okay, I need to say a few words at this stage. I'm very happy to say a few words at this stage. The first thing relates to people who are not here. some of you may know, others may not know, that both Dan Moore and Oliver are posted. They're leaving their jobs effectively before Christmas, yes?
So Oliver leaves on 15th of December, Dan at the end of January.
End of January, so Dan's around a bit longer, but I think he's doing both jobs.
Oliver's doing both, but Dan has a slightly longer transition period.
Well, I want to place on record that we do have a lot of conversations with the department, and you know, they're not pushovers. We have some very robust discussions, but what I can say in my time, certainly as chair of the authority, both Dan and Oliver have been staunch supporters of the BTPA and the force, and they have done a lot of work behind the scenes with us and for us. And I just want, on your behalf, to record our appreciation for what they have done with the authority and the force in their time in post, and to wish them all the very best in their new roles. And can I confirm that they're so fantastic, they're not being replaced?
No, so the current plan is that there will be a replacement for both Dan and Oliver.
When?
So there's an EOI going out for both roles, which just went out today. So there should be someone in post by the end of January for Oliver's role, and rapidly, hopefully by the end of January for Dan's role as well. And there might be a longer term move around in rail group, but that's a longer term for.
Thank you. So there you have it. There's going to be nobody in these jobs for months. Thank you very much. And last but by no means least, as I'm sure most of you know, this is Bev's last meeting as an authority. And it falls to me to say a few words on your behalf, which I will now do. Bev, all I can say is that you have been an outstanding member of the authority in your time with us. I think that you have displayed a commitment to public service, which is quite exemplary. And in particular, always and consistently, Bev, it's about people. And that's an important aspect, considering the force is all about people and the work that is done is all about people. And you have discharged your duties with us in a fantastic way. And I personally have come to rely on your counsel, and I shall miss it. But I know that your public service is not yet ended, and that you're carrying on with the NHS. So that would be something to sort out.
New strikes today. Yeah.
Wish you all the luck in the world with the new strikes, as I say.
Yeah, thanks, December and January.
But on behalf of us all, Bev, getting old, we have a small gift to give you as a token of our appreciation as an authority. And I think we'll send it on to you, Bev, rather than give it to you to carry away with you. But on behalf of us all, Bev, thank you very, very much for everything you've done for the authority and the force indeed. And we wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. I've loved it here. I mean, I hope that's gone through in everything I've done. The work you do really, really matters, and you know, you make a difference to both passengers and the railway in keeping people safe. So thank you very much for letting me be part of that. Thanks.
Will you be opening that bottle a little later? Or?
Oh my goodness. How lovely.
Thank you. I must now formally move for the exclusion of the public, or we can tend to exclude the public from the private session. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah. No, I don't
wish to stay.
Open now.
Okay, we're now in private session. And I'd like to address the non-public minutes such as they are. There's only one page. Does anyone have any questions or points arising from those minutes? If not, are we content to approve them? Does anybody have any other issue they wish to raise in respect to this private session? You're all anxious to get away now. Meeting evaluation. Does anyone have any points to make or anything to state in relation to the meeting and how it's going? Shall I?
Thought we spent time on the issues that were important. So although it looked on paper like we were running late, actually we were. And you brought it back to 2:30. The genius of Sharon. But no, I think we spent good quality time on some of the issues that we need lots of.
Anybody else? Anything we should do differently?
If we get urgent stuff like overhand, you know, and Sean gave a great presentation there, I mean, let's forget the fact that we need a paper, because what you did, you know, with the screen, I thought did the job fairly. So we don't sweat on.
Yeah. Bullet points, if we ever ask for something like that again, just give us bullet points on a couple of pages and give us the presentation software. Good, Sean. Yeah, thanks.
Can I just make one? I think maybe less items, but more time for discussion might be helpful. So I think sometimes we're rattling through things and conscious that the tech failed on the team who come to present, to present the race action plan. We'd ask questions, but I don't even know if they know we'd ask questions. And actually, it's a bit disheartening when you put a lot of effort into something and all of a sudden your questions are asked, you haven't seen them being asked, and then it looks like everybody's not interested.
But you'll communicate that back to Karen and Rob, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
That's it. Anything else from anybody? Well, I think 2 points from me, if I may. First of all, I thought we transacted a lot of good business today. And secondly, as ever, I'm grateful to all of you when you get stuck in and we actually discuss the items that are important. And that's good to see. So thank you very much for your time today, folks. And at that point, I declare the meeting closed. Can we